You've connected to Cisco Unplugged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 83 of Cisco Unplugged, your show for all things wireless. I'm Dan Klamert, your host, and welcome. And this week, we're talking about the wonders of wireless workflows. Now, we've done a few previous episodes, if you recall back, or if you haven't, I'd encourage you to check it out. Episode 69, we talked about automating wireless with Ansible. And then last episode, episode 82, we touched on how to call workflows as part of your wireless automation story. And today, I'm really excited. We've got Ed Novak here from the Cisco BE, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what are workflows, how do we use them, and more importantly, I think, how do they make our life easier? So, welcome to the show, Ed. How are you doing?
Thanks, Dan. I'm doing great and super excited to be here talking about workflows.
Yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand you're a fellow cheesehead like me, Wisconsin native. So, but I think you've moved out east. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your role.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am a technical marketing engineer from the network platform team focusing on network automation with Cisco workflows. I'm based out of Massachusetts, but I grew up in northern Wisconsin, so I'm a proud Packers owner there. Been with
Nice.
Cisco for 25 years and worked on a lot of exciting different technologies over that time frame. And I can honestly say that Cisco workflows is the most exciting piece of technology I've worked on in my career at Cisco. So I'm super excited to be
That-
here talking about it today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And did you hear that, Tom? That another Packer owner here. So shout out to our show producer. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ed. Welcome to the show. That's great. That's super exciting. Before we do get rolling here, just a couple reminders. So we do take questions as usual via Slido. You've got the information on your screen here. Join the Slido, submit those questions. I also monitor the YouTube chat too. So if you want to pop those in there as well, I'll be monitoring both those spots here today during the show. We love to take your questions, answer those live on the show. And then also, we have the link via our YouTube channel. And so if you go out to youtube.com/@symbol get unplugged, go out there, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you will be notified when we do go live with more great content like this and many more episodes on the show. And also, I did want to do a quick plug. Al and I, we have an exciting, my first time at live here presenting session on the Titans of Wireless, and it's BRKEWN 1012 is the session number. Here's the QR code on the screen, and would encourage you to come on out if you're at live, come to this session. And just to be clear, I'm not one of the Titans of Wireless or Legends of Wireless. We've got otherwise, you might be in trouble. We've got an all-star panel of some amazing speakers, and we're going to talk about all things, whether it's Wi-Fi 7, beyond, take questions live from you in the audience. So, great group of incredibly knowledgeable but also fun speakers that I'm super excited to be hosting that session out in Las Vegas here. And I think, Ed, you mentioned you've got a couple, you're
Yeah,
out there as well.
that's great. If this is your first time speaking at Cisco Live, Cisco Live is such an exciting opportunity to go and learn all about the latest in networking technologies. I'll be
Yeah.
there presenting several different sessions on Cisco workflows and network automation, as well as the rest of the workflows automation team. We had about a dozen sessions we presented over in Amsterdam, and we have even more on tap for Las Vegas. So please catch us live if you can. Those are great. And if you're unable to do that, the on-demand library is also a great resource. So those sessions are all available afterwards on demand.
Yeah, great plug, great tips. Thank you for that. So let's dig in here. Let's get unplugged. Let's talk a little bit more about the our show title, "The Wonders of Wireless Workflows." Like I've said, we've touched on them previously in previous episodes, but wanted to really kind of dig in first and foremost, like what are workflows? How are they helping us? And it seems like a incredibly powerful tool, like you said about your excitement level. Everything I've seen, it's just been outstanding. Just how we can call them. Like we showed in the last episode through the AI assistant, and so just super excited to talk more about them today.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So hopefully you can see my slide here, agentic workflows for Cisco networking. So let me start off with a quick summary here of what is Cisco workflows. It's a cloud-hosted automation solution that's embedded into the Meraki dashboard. But just because we're hosted in Meraki doesn't mean that we're only for automating Meraki networks. You can, of course, automate Meraki, but you can also automate other Cisco domains, things like Catalyst Center, Catalyst SD-WAN, ICE, Umbrella, Thousand Eyes. There's also integration with third-party tools as well. So things like ServiceNow, Jira, Netbox, Infoblox, anything with a REST interface. So it's your one-stop shop for multi-domain network automation. And we provide this with simple pre-built automations in a place we call our Workflows Exchange, which is a catalog of those pre-built workflows. So those are great. You can import those into your workspace. If they meet your need, awesome, run it as is. But as we often see with those pre-built automation solutions, 80 to 90% of it's exactly what you need, but there's that 10 to 20% which is custom for your environment. The great thing about workflows is it's very easy to then to modify that in a simple low no code drag and drop editor to customize those pre-built offers to meet exactly your needs, or start from scratch and build your own. And there's also AI integration. So as Dan mentioned there, you can run a workflow through the AI assistant. We have some exciting stuff coming with AI generated workflows, but you also have the power of triggering workflows in other ways. And we're showing that today using things called automation rules and webhooks. The one thing about Cisco workflows is we wanted to make using APIs simple and easy as drag and drop, and to eliminate those repetitive manual tasks. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to highlight the Workflows Exchange one more time here. This is that catalog of pre-built workflows, so you can instantly get value out of the workflows automation environment. I've highlighted two down here in the bottom. Those are the two workflows from the Exchange. I'll be walking you through installing those and running those today. Those are based on customer use cases.
So
The
I
great
can
thing about
think
the
of
Exchange,
this.
as I mentioned
Sorry.
before, is you can recycle the existing logic. Dan, was there a question?
Oh, sorry, Ed. Yeah, I was just saying. So the Exchange, I guess I could think of this as kind of like an app store or a launching point where I don't have to make these all from scratch. I can go out
Absolutely.
there.
Very, yes.
Okay.
The whole idea here is to recycle that proven logic. So even if it doesn't quite meet your need entirely, you can use that as a base to build from, or look at
Nice.
that and see how do they handle that situation. What does the logic look inside that workflow? If I'm going to do something similar, maybe I just need to click and drag a different API call into that logic, and it meets my needs entirely. One example was a customer that was using the workflow in here that modifies VLAN DHCP pool sizes. They wanted to update VLAN DNS settings. It's like, well, that's the same API call. Just modify the setting inside that API call in the workflow and run that workflow. And that's quick and easy for them to modify that workflow to meet their need.
And to be
again,
clear, then also to clarify my question, so sometimes when people think App Store, they think, oh, I got to pay for that. I'm not having to pay for this, right? This is available out there to grab.
Yeah, that's another great point there, and I didn't cover that earlier. Thank you for reminding me. So Workflows is a free value add for being a Cisco customer. So access to this is included with the licensing for any of the other Cisco domain controllers you may have out there. So if you have Meraki, that's great. But if you don't have Meraki, maybe you're just Catalyst Center or Catalyst SD-WAN, you still have to go to the Meraki dashboard, create a Meraki organization, because that's where the Workflows environment is hosted. But you don't have to have any Meraki devices or any Meraki licenses to utilize the Workflows automation environment.
Nice.
You can have access to these pre-built, catalog of workflows right here from the Exchange, or build your own to automate things like Catalyst Center, Catalyst SD-WAN, ICE, Umbrella, and integrate with those other third-party tools as well.
That's huge. So, yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's awesome.
In the Exchange here, you're going to see three kind of different levels of offers here. So you see Cisco Managed, you see Cisco Verified, and Community. So all three levels here are reviewed by Cisco before they're published. The only difference really is who authored them and what the support mechanism is. So for Cisco Managed, those are written and supported by Cisco, so tax support's available. For Cisco Verified, those are written by our community partners. We, again, verify them, but then they're supported by the partner. And community level ones, again, Cisco reviews those, makes sure that the logic is sound and there's nothing malicious in there. And then support comes from the individual community author or the community at large. And we're constantly updating this. We had almost a dozen workflows added to the Exchange last month, and we got a significant backlog of workflows we're reviewing right now to get added in this next month. So I'm super excited about that. And again, we'll focus on those two I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Other great places to get support if you're new to automation and Cisco workflows is the Workflows community. So that's community@cisco.com. Go there, ask questions. And I'm also posting updates about the latest enhancements to workflows there as well. Another great place to get started with learning workflows is the Workflows YouTube channel. We have 3 different playlists on there. One of them is the self-learning playlist, and I'm going to highlight lesson number 8 in there, which is all about using webhooks, which we're going to talk about today. And if you're new to webhooks and don't really understand what a webhook is, let's start here with Webhook 101. So a webhook is a mechanism that allows a system to send you a message using HTTP or HTTPS whenever an event occurs. So instead of having to constantly poll, you can just say, hey, notify me when something happens. And so that's the great thing, is I no longer have to be constantly polling to understand if something's changed. I can just say, hey, register a webhook and send me a message when a certain event happens. And so another way to do about this is thinking this as, whenever something happens in my network, send me the details in a JSON message. And if you're interested in getting more references here for Meraki webhooks, because that's what I'm going to be demonstrating today, there are some great references right here where you actually see the sample webhook payload body that comes in with the different events. So with that, let's jump into a live demo, okay?
Sounds good.
So I am going to jump into my automation space over here. And the first thing you're going to notice over here is I am in my Meraki dashboard for my Green Bay organization, of course. And I'm going to scroll down here to my automation menu, and I'm starting here in my workspace. So if I'm brand new to network automation, and this is my first time logging in, right now I will see 3 workflows by default. And you see over here, these are Cisco managed workflows. These will be hidden with some changes and some folderization we have coming up. So you'll start with a default view of only your workflows. But just by default, there are 3 Cisco provided workflows, which should provide some very common functionality if you're using this, especially for Meraki automation, where you can do things like get IDs by providing a name.
Okay, so those are in there to get you started, basically. Those 3 are in there to get you started.
Yeah, they provide you some example workflows, and also, again, not many people remember their Meraki organization ID, but they remember their Meraki organization name, or the same thing with their network name. They don't remember what their network IDs are. I can just use a name here, and those workflows assist you with programmatically returning back the IDs.
Nice.
So when I come into the Exchange, by default, there's a popular list up here at the top. There is a lot more content shown down below here. But one of the easiest ways to look at what you want to find is either use the integration. So you can come up here and filter, for example, today we're talking about Meraki, so I can filter on Meraki and just get the workflows that are focused on Meraki, or I can do a search on here as well to look at name details. So lots of really cool, exciting workflows in here, like a pre-shared key rotation with a QR code generation. If you need to update your pre-shared keys on your Wi-Fi networks, that's a great one. You can utilize that with a schedule rule. So automatically every single month, it will update your pre-shared key and then email out the QR code they need to log into it. So, powerful time saver right there.
Wow.
But today we're going to talk about 2 use cases, and these had to do with webhooks. So this first one here is to process a webhook from a network event and enable or disable a guest Wi-Fi. So I'm going to click on install, and of course I get the details of this particular workflow, and I'm going to start the install process right now. It takes a few seconds, but I can see here I've got a detailed description of the workflow, a lot more information here about the logic of the workflow, notes about the steps. Now to trigger this with I was going to click on maybe later here. To trigger this with a webhook, I do have to make a change to the target, and I'll walk through that today. And then information here about the inputs and outputs. And just another plug here, I do have a link here to a previous Cisco Live session where I covered this workflow as well. I've grabbed my first workflow, and now I'm going to jump back into the Exchange
catalog. So basically
catalog.
At that point, you're making it available in your dashboard. You haven't done anything yet other than just downloading it from the Exchange.
Correct. Yeah. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to install it into our workspace.
Yep.
I'm going to do the second workflow here. Install again, a summary of the workflow up top here, more details about the workflow logic down below, inputs and outputs, and some other resources there. And this should take us a couple seconds to install that. Again, that's just putting it into my own workspace. So it's kind of downloading the copy of it, making it available for me to then go in and modify it and customize it and review it however I need to.
If I don't know if this is possible or not, but if you made some changes in the workflow you didn't like or you weren't happy with, and you're just a novice getting started or whatever, can you start over? Can you re-download I've actually walked this a couple times in rehearsal here. So all you do is come up here. If I want to do it, just click uninstall. Okay.
Wipes it out of your system and then reinstall it again.
Got it.
No harm, no foul.
Okay.
So now I'm going to jump into my workspace. And so, hey, I started with 3 workflows. I just installed 2. I have more than 5. What's up with that? Well, that's because some of those workflows we installed have sub workflows or child workflows as part of that bundle. So that's why we see multiple workflows in here. So I'm going to start with the first one, which was about enabling and disabling guest Wi-Fi. So I'm going to click on the workflow and I can open it up in the editor. And so this use case was from a customer that had branch locations, and their branch locations had a primary internet connection and a cellular backup connection. And when they were losing their primary internet connection and switching over to cell backup, their guest Wi-Fi was still enabled, and their guest Wi-Fi was chewing up a lot of data on their cellular backup and incurring data charges for them. So their question was, is there a simple way that we could automatically turn off our guest Wi-Fi whenever we lose our primary internet connection, go to cell backup, so we're not paying the data charges for that, and then turn it back on when the primary link comes back up? Yeah, that's very simple to do. You can easily do that programmatically with an API. Workflows can do that very simply. A workflow can be triggered by a webhook. I could put a webhook on a network event in Meraki. Hey, let's do it. So that's what we did here. So here is the workflow, and I can see here, this is the workflow editor. So left-hand side is our activities panel. And you see here the long list of different types of activities I have. And then underneath of these, I have individual activities themselves, which correspond to like API activities. So I open up Meraki here, for example, and I do see all these different activities. Now, generally, we only produce activities that correspond to the fully public, generally available API calls. However, the wireless team did reach out to us for a couple of their beta APIs. They really wanted to get people utilizing those. So we did create some beta API activities for those. So these are
okay. So that answers my question. I think that's what the B is there. The red B is a beta.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And we do have full API coverage for all of the Meraki APIs, and we do have some categorization coming. So right now there's over 800 activities in this list. When I open up Meraki, we're going to start categorizing them and grouping them by wireless and device and switch and stuff like that. But you can always come up here and search. And if you put the search name and that matches the API name, you'll find it immediately. Nice. The other thing is you'll see right here, generic Meraki API request. So if there's a new API that's come out that we haven't had a chance to build the atomic for, you can drag that out into your canvas. We take care of all the authentication for you. And the only thing you need to worry about is what's the URL. And then in the case of a put or a post, what body do I want to pass to it?
Wow.
So it really makes using API simple and easy.
Nice.
But let's take a look at this workflow. So the first thing you have to do with a workflow really is talk about the target. So a target is the resource that the workflow is going to be making API calls against. So in this case, this is Meraki. And so we have the workflow specified and start. So if I run this workflow manually, it'll give me a pull down list to select my Meraki targets, and I can specify that. But I'm not going to run this manually. I want to run this automatically with a rule. So to have it run from a rule, I have to either have it set with execute on target or a target group. A group is just a collection of targets. So here I'm going to come in, I'm going to modify this workflow, and this is covered in the installation steps. You have to select your Meraki endpoint, of course, and then you can select your Meraki target. Now here you can see I have 2 targets. The first one here, this Meraki current org, this is a brand new feature we just added in the past couple of weeks. So this is a system generated target for your current organization, and it's tied into the permissions of the current user who's logged in. Now, since I can't guarantee there's going to be a user logged in when this workflow runs from an automation rule, I have to have a manually declared target. So I'm going to use my Meraki target. And to create that target, all I did was go into my API key, get that API key, store it securely in the keys area for workflows. And then I selected a Meraki target, associated that key to it, and that defined my manual Meraki target. And the steps are in the documentation that can walk you through that, but it's a very simple process to do that. So I've modified this workflow now to execute on my Meraki target. I'm going to come up here and I can validate that. And that just makes sure all the inputs and all the outputs match. But real quick, while we're here, we'll take a look at this. So here's an atomic that's going to parse the webhook body that comes in. And then it gives me all the different outputs. So I should probably talk one more thing about variables. So over here on the right-hand side, this is our properties panel. So I can see properties for the workflow, or if I select an individual activity, I get properties of that particular activity. I can see that looking through the list here, this workflow has a single input variable, in this case, a webhook request body. So again, that's that JSON data the event's going to send us. So we take that, we utilize the pre-built activity right here to parse that JSON structure out into individual outputs. And then below that, the first thing we want to do is check, hey, did we succeed in that operation? So this is a condition block. So this is like your if-then statement. So this is as simple as it gets. I identify what property I want to evaluate, and I can see right here I said, give me the output of when I parse the Meraki webhook body and tell me if it's succeeded or not. And I see here I got all the different values from that webhook body for a standard Meraki webhook, all individually parsed out for me to make available. And I say, if it's true, I'm in this block of activities. And if it fails over here, then I'm going to say, hey, something went wrong. I'm going to stop the workflow. And then we come down to the next step here, which is, okay, this is for looking at that primary web or primary WAN interface. So if the primary WAN interface is up, and again, we're looking into the webhook alert type here to see if we want to see uplink status changed for a failover event back to uplink 0. So if that's the case, we're back on our primary interface, and we want to enable guest Wi-Fi. The other one here, we're just looking for uplink 1. That tells us we switched over to cell backup. Then we're going to disable guest Wi-Fi. And our third case over here is the kind of the catch case that, hey, we didn't match the existing what we expected, so we don't want to go through any further in the workflow. So we're going to end the workflow here, report an error. But then again, once we have identified that the event has taken place, we're going to get the SSIDs. And the cool thing about this workflow is it operates on, we say the guest SSID name, but that is a variable right here. So if I wanted to, I can change which SSID by the name that this workflow turns on and off. And so once it parses out all the list of the SSIDs on that network, it then goes through and makes the selection. So here it's going to read all those into a table. Again, we're just passing data into it using our variable mapping icon. So again, we said, grab the information before we read the SSIDs. In this case, we're just going to grab the names and the SSID numbers. A real quick here, we're selecting from that table where the name equals whatever we set for our local variable for SSID name. In this case, it's defaulting to guest, but we can change that if we need to. And then we come down here, we make a check to make sure we found the SSID. Then we just make the update, either enable or disable that SSID. So that was a long, rambling explanation of the workflow, but hopefully you now have a better understanding of how simple and easy it is to build or edit a workflow. So I'm going to jump back up to my workspace.
I got a quick question on that last slide, or on that last screen, I should say, where it said the workflow is currently unlocked in the top right corner. What is I guess the significance of that, or the meaning of that? Does that just mean you're editing it, or?
Yes. Yeah, great point right there. Yes, that means that the workflow is editable for changes, and that status is going to change in just a minute, because as soon as I associate that workflow with an automation rule, that workflow will become locked.
Okay.
So now I'm going to go over to the automation area, and I'm going to drop down into rules. And my first stop is going to be over here to the webhook tab. So you can see currently I have no rules defined. I have no webhooks defined. So I need to create this webhook. So again, this is just a URL that's going to receive JSON data whenever an event takes place. So the first thing I need to do is come up here with my name, and I'm just going to call this one Unplugged. I should provide a description, but that's optional. That's all I have to do. You see these other details down here. I don't need to provide those because those are going to be created for me automatically. So I'm going to click Save now. And here is my Unplugged webhook. And so I'm going to scroll back down here. So the first thing I see here is my API key. And I mentioned I'm going to be triggering these using some curl commands. So I'm just going to grab my API key and get that staged into my curl command so I can use that later. And the second one is I need to grab part of this URL for my curl command as well. So again, give me 1 second just to update what I'll be using the demo in just a minute. Okay, so the system has automatically built our webhook URL for us where we want events to send data to. So here is the URL. It does contain the full API key. I'm going to copy that entire block right there because we're going to need that when we set up our network events. And we're done here. So the next stop is automation rule, where we're going to associate a webhook to a workflow. So I'm going to create a new rule here. I'm going to come down to a webhook rule. I'm just going to go with the Unplugged name again today. I can provide a description if I want to. First stop here is what webhook. And here I have a pull down list of my currently defined webhooks. I can select from that or add a new one. I can add conditions if I need to. I don't need any conditions right here. That's really more an advanced topic. And our final stop right down here is select the workflow. Now you can see here, there's only one workflow available for me, but there was like 7 workflows in my workspace.
Hmm.
Requirements here. Number 1, the workflow has to be execute on target specified. So if it's like execute on target start, that's not available for an automation rule because the target has to be set. The second thing is it has to be a valid workflow. So if the workflow had that value set but wasn't validated, it would show up here but would be grayed out and unselectable with a note that it was invalid. So here I'm just going to select my single workflow. And if you remember back to looking at that workflow, there was one input variable requirement, the webhook request body. So here I have my variable reference icon. I can click on that. I can see the data that comes in from my rule. And one of those items that comes in from that rule is that JSON request body. But I also can grab, the headers and stuff like that at a time if I needed to pass that in as well. So here I'm going to pass in my webhook request body and save. And so now I've automatically created my webhook, have my rule associated that when data comes into that webhook to pass it to the workflow. So the next step is then let's create those network events. So I'm going to go over here. There's 2 different places in Meraki you can do this. There's network level events and there are organizational level events. So network level events are done here under network wide alerts. And then organizational level ones are also done here under organization, API webhooks. You define the webhook there, and then you can go into alerts and configure the alert. So 2 different places to do that. I'm just going to show today the network level alerts. So I'm on the network level alert page. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Webhooks. Add a webhook receiver. I can give it a name. This is my workflows. Remember that URL I copied earlier? I'm going to paste it right in there. And I can save that page. And if I need to, I can send a test webhook, and that sends a webhook that's a power supply event alert. And actually, we can send that right now. We'll see that show up in our list. Again, that's not going to match the expected alert type, so that one's just going to stop the workflow. So it has been delivered. Now I'm going to scroll up to things like my WAN appliance here when my primary uplink status changes, and I want to send that to my workflows webhook. And then I've made that change right there so I can save. So whenever my primary WAN interface changes now, Meraki will send that webhook with that JSON body in it to workflows, webhook receiver, which will then trigger the workflow to take actions. So let's jump into the automation. I'm going to go back into the rules area. And before we trigger that one, again, we'll see that we had the unplugged workflow right there. Looking at history, I see an event just took place here just a few minutes ago. Here was that data that came in. Again, a power supply event, I mentioned that. But right up here, a link to the workflow that was triggered and run from it. Here's the run monitoring screen. I can see that workflow failed because it didn't match the expected type. And I can go into the run details of that. And I can see, hey, we parsed the body successfully. We came down here, but the alert type didn't match. That expected that. So that's no big surprise. So let's take a look at our network overview right now. So here in my Green Bay organization, in my Lambo network, I have a guest Wi-Fi enabled and my Packers owner Wi-Fi, of course. So if my primary interface goes down, we're going to turn off the guest Wi-Fi. So back to my history page right here. And I'm going to grab my curl command rather than wait the about 5 minutes that it takes to generate the alert manually. And come in here. Oh, actually, I need to do one thing first. Before I do that, I need to make sure I have my API key associated. So I'm using curl here. So I'm going to, first thing here is update this raw key with my API key. So I can then associate that with my curl command. So here is my curl command. Again, I'm just placing that, simulating that webhook, which is just making a call to a URL and passing in JSON data. So here we can see the alert type, uplink status changed. The fail type ID is a failover event. And the big thing here is in the alert data, the uplink is number 1. So if I refresh my history page right here, unplugged webhook got hit, that rule. I can click on that. I can see the data that came in. And again, uplink status changed, failover event, uplink 1. One workflow was run from that. I click on that link, takes me to run monitoring. That work ran successfully. I can click on the webhook, It takes me to the run screen. Again, a visual representation here of that workflow logic as it ran. So just looking at this, I can see I parsed the Meraki webhook. In this case, the primary WAN link was down, so I'm going to disable guest Wi-Fi. But I can click on any of these activities and see the inputs and outputs of any particular activity. So it makes it very easy to debug workflows, because as we saw earlier, when an activity fails, it turns red. So this has gone through, completed successfully, and disabled my guest Wi-Fi. So let's go back over here.
So the scenario there is basically I'm routing my guest wireless traffic through a WAN link to a central, whatever ISP through the data center or whatever, or maybe I'm tunneling it, whatever, centrally. So if that goes down, that WAN link, for whatever reason, I don't want to be advertising that SSID effectively.
Yeah, correct. So this idea was I don't want to be providing guest Wi-Fi service when I'm on my cellular backup and pay the cellular data charges for it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes total sense.
So that was the entire use case. I mean, there are other ones that utilize a similar thing here that we're switching over. They can apply different traffic shaping policies, for example, to route things. Okay, I don't want that to go through my backup connection this way. I'm going to apply a different policy when this interface is down.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. And then save those cellular bandwidth links for the primary or critical traffic versus just guest traffic. Yeah.
Yep. So again, that happens automatically then when the interface goes down, and then when the interface comes back up, I'm just going to grab my other webhook right here, send this one in, and again, we see here this is a failover event. Uplink 0 is the alert data, so that tells us our primary came back online. Again, jumping back into the history page. Coming back over here, I see the unplugged rule was triggered. Again, uplink 0 is the indicator right there. Going into the run details, that completed successfully. I can look at the details of the workflow. Again, visual representation. Oh, the primary WAN link came up, enable guest Wi-Fi. And we jump back in over here. I can refresh that screen. And guest Wi-Fi is enabled. And if I wanted to, I could easily modify that workflow we just saw run. And if I wanted to change that SSID name that we were changing, you can see here, that situation earlier I mentioned, the workflow is locked because I associate it with a webhook rule. But I can always unlock it if I need to come in here and edit that, so I can update the guest SSID name. So we have the Bears fans, of course. So we can change that. And if I go into my network overview here, and if I just rename this, so now that's the Bears fans. Let me grab my WAN link down event again. Coming back in right here. We're going to trigger that. So
can we rate limit those Bears fans? Like, we don't want them to, to
anything you can do programmatically with an API. It's quick, simple, and easy to do here with a workflow. So again, we have the uplink 1 event that took place. Of course, that triggered our workflow, which ran successfully, which disabled the guest Wi-Fi. So if I go back now here and I refresh the screen, I can see that I've now disabled that interface. So, I took a workflows right out of the exchange offer. I modified it now to operate on a different thing just by making a simple variable change right there. So, that's how quick and easy it is to use an offer from the exchange, to trigger it with a webhook and have events take place that make changes to your network automatically without you having to get involved. Dan, I think we're out of time. I don't know how much longer we want to run this through the second workflow or not.
No, I mean, we have a little more time if you want to, but we could come back and do it another time. It's up to you.
Sure. Let me just do this one a little bit quicker then. So
okay,
this is just a quick look at that particular workflow. Let me jump back into my workspace. So this workflow here, this is the process Meraki webhook to bounce switch port PoE. So I can come over here. I can edit that workflow. Again, I just installed this one from the exchange. So the one thing I really need to do is come in here and change the target type so I can utilize it with an automation rule. So I'm going to come in here and make this a Meraki endpoint. And again, select my current Meraki target. And again, currently not validated. I'm going to validate that. Boom. So that one is done. So now whenever I receive an event alert, so if I had gone into my network settings and had put a setting in there for like an access point or camera going down. Because the first step I do when troubleshooting those events, or at least this is what I hear from the network operations teams, is whenever an access point or camera goes down, I figure out which switch port that's connected to and bounce the power over Ethernet for it. And I give it about 10 minutes to come up. And if it comes up, great. If it doesn't come up, I try bouncing it a second time. And if that doesn't come up, then I'll escalate that to tier 2. But how long does it take for one network operator just to see that event alert? 2, figure out which switch port that is, then go bounce that, then wait 10 minutes to check the status again, then bounce it a second time, wait another 10 minutes. You're talking probably at least 30 minutes of time right there.
Mm-hmm.
We can automate all that as we've just done, utilizing a webhook. So if I go back into my workspace, I'm just going to go back into rules. And I'm going to edit the current rule I've got right here. So instead of using that old workflow, I'm going to change it now to the bounce switch port workflow. And again, map in the webhook request body. There we go. So that's mapped in. We can see the last event came in here at 12:02. So I'm going to quickly trigger this one. Let me grab a camera down event. So in this case, whenever your access points or cameras goes down, they automatically generate that event. So again, here, this is a camera went down event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to refresh my rule. 12:06 event, unplugged. Right here, cameras went down. It ran the workflow automatically. And that workflow is still running. It's a little bit longer of a workflow. So I'll open that one up again. Again, we parse the webhook. We check for errors there. We identify the connected Meraki switch port. And then we go in and turn the power over Ethernet off. And I can see, again, this one's blue, child workflow. I can drill into that child workflow. Hey, I disabled the port. And then there's a variable in here where I can determine how long I want to sleep before I re-enable it. So in this case, I think it's set for 60 seconds. But again, that's variables over here. Okay, it looks like it's 30 seconds right now. But I can modify that if I need to. And then it turns the power over Ethernet back on. We return back to the parent workflow. In this case down here, it then starts checking for status. Now this is in our first bounce. Down below that, there's a second bounce in here. And inside that second bounce activity, in the failure path, there's a placeholder for you to put tier 2 activity. So if the second bounce doesn't fix it, I can drag an activity from the palette of activities to do things like open a ticket in ServiceNow, open a ticket in Jira, send somebody an email, post to a WebEx or Slack channel, to notify, hey, I did all the tier 1 steps for you. This is ready for tier 2 without a network operator even touching their keyboard. So super powerful.
So this is like a powerful indeed. This is like a proactive way, whereas like before you're even seeing the ticket or hearing the customer or user complaining about the, this interface being down or whatever, or seeing alerts, like you could have already corrected the issue.
Yeah, exactly. This is all about, proactive network operations. So here, workflows is one, saving our network operations team time. And the great thing about this is there's no special syntax to learn. I don't have to spend time learning Python or Ansible. I can utilize this, either exchange offers off the shelf or, click drag and drop to build my own. And one of the super exciting things we have right now is you don't have to click and drag anymore. You can have a natural language conversation with the AI assistant. So this is an alpha right now. Describe the automation, describe your intent, and have the AI assistant create that workflow for you.
That's amazing. Wow.
So actually talk about creating workflows. I mean, both of these workflows that you see here were written based upon customer use cases. Do we have any customers out there that are listening to us that have some interesting use cases that maybe we could build a workflow to demonstrate for them and use that next time?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, let us know. Feel free to email us, getunplugged@cisco.com. You can reach out to us always through your Cisco account team. You can DM us on Twitter X, Unplugged 80211, or on Threads, Unplugged Connectivity. But we are planning to have you back, Ed. Thank you for this episode. This was great, and for committing to the future as well. But yeah, we'd love to do that, build something that our viewers or our customers are asking for, and come back. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'd love to hear customer use cases. Again, the more content we can add into that Exchange catalog of pre-built offers to make our customers' lives simple and easy, we're trying to do that.
Definitely. All right. Well, this was a great episode. Anything else, Ed? I think we're good on questions, it looks like.
I could probably go on for another hour, but hopefully I covered stuff that was of interest to your audience out there. And I really look forward to being back. And thanks again for the time today.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Great episode here talking about the wonders of wireless workflows. And I think they really are incredibly powerful, like you said, super exciting. I mean, the possibilities seem almost endless to me here when I look at the list of when you're creating them, and it just seems so simple and easy too to be able to make a lot of this stuff and call it. So that's awesome. I just wanted to once again remind you, if you know how to get a hold of us. I just went through that. Feel free to send us feedback, send us maybe some thoughts for future workflows if you want. But also, if you are curious, our upcoming schedule is out there live on our YouTube channel. And also Ed had mentioned this earlier, but I learned this channel, but the youtube.com/@ Cisco Workflows looks to be like a great resource for learning more on this topic. So thanks for sharing that, Ed. And
yeah, thanks, Dan. Just want to mention one more thing. We just threw a new playlist up there on the Cisco Workflows channel, which is all about that generative AI workflow creation.
Okay.
So super excited to have about that new content. So if you're curious about that, head over
Nice.
to YouTube and check out that playlist.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you advertised or plugged that, because that's a great resource. But then you can always get to our channel, youtube.com/@getunplugged. Go out there, subscribe, like, and notify. Click the bell next to the subscribe button to be notified when we do go live with great shows or great content in the future, like this one. And then I was mentioning, as our schedule is out there, it's underneath our banner on the YouTube page. You can click on the first link there underneath the header banner, and that will show our upcoming episode schedule. We got a lot of great content coming up in the pipe here. So be sure to go out there and check out, and like I said, subscribe, like, and you'll be notified. But and also, we do have that episode or that session at live. Come out there and join us there. That would be great to see you. And you can go into the session catalog right now, favorite it. But I don't think the scheduler is open just yet. But then when the scheduler opens, you can. It's a Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Local time out there. So thanks so much, Ed.
This was in Vegas for Cisco Live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks so much, Ed. Great to have you on the show. Look forward to having you back. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Until next time, stay connected and unplugged.